White Landlords and Black Sharecroppers by Demarcus Ford. Left with no land of their own. Well, with the passing of the 14th and the 15th Amendment, Republicans declared that African Americans were now considered equal under the law. By taking a hands-off approach going further, Republicans had freed African Americans from forced labor, but cursed them with no economic opportunity of their own. They didn't have any opportunities such as education or rights that enabled them to acquire land of their own. In instances where they did do that, it was later taken away by other acts. Exercising their freedom, the lack of an overbearing overseer allowed African Americans to explore different avenues for their prosperity, such as opening their own churches, enrolling their children into schools, and haggling with planters over their working conditions on plantations to prevent slave-like working conditions. The turning point. Lacking land of their own, African Americans were forced to take up any type of work they could find, including going back to work on plantations they once were slaves to. Planters would give a portion of their land to African Americans to work and live on, and in return they would have a large claim to crop that African Americans produced on their portion of land. This can be up to where upward of 50 to 60% of any of the crops that they produced on that land. Pretty much it was just half of the crop would be theirs, the owners of the lands. And this leads into my next point about how African Americans were even able to get by before they was able to produce the crop, which would be a bad deal for them in the sense of merchants who provided African Americans who had no credit with food and clothing, among other things, in an agreement called a cropland. This agreement, this agreement left African Americans indebted to merchants who were charged exorbitant rates on goods they sold. These will be rates like of 60%. So this is going back to what I said earlier about how the planters themselves would take their half of all of the crop that African Americans would grow on their land. So in this little diagram right here, you see the cycle of debt that African Americans were entrapped in. They often found themselves entrapped because with two parties both vying for half of your crop yield, that sometimes left the African Americans with little to no profit of their own. So if the African Americans weren't able to pay back the merchant for the clothes and other goods he provided, the merchant would just add that on to his tab, essentially indebting these African American farmers to continuously try to pay off an ever increasing debt that they wouldn't be able to. This is similar to payday loans that we see today, where people who are in need to cash a check or they need to get cash right at this moment, they will go in and take out money. But if they are not able to pay off that loan quick enough, they're garner a larger and larger bill at the end that they may not even be able to pay off. So it's just gonna hit their credit. Question for y'all. What do you think Congress could have done to stop the predatory practices of landlords and merchants who indebted African Americans with economic slavery by forcing African Americans to take on more debt to pay off their current debt so they can provide for their families? Thank you for watching. Y'all have a good day.